Hey, everybody, it's Chris Elmore with another edition of what? The Service Contractor Radio Show, brought to you by who?
Service Excellence Training,
where we turn learning into earning. This week, we are continuing our podcast series on You Have to Press Before You Play, and we're talking about relationship. Stay tuned. Okay, so I want to start out by addressing something.
Derek.
Oh, was that his name?
Derek.
So we got some feedback from Derek,
which we appreciate.
We do, honestly. This is not a dig at Derek, who said maybe he likes to get to the point a lot faster.
And maybe
you talk a little too much before getting to the point. I think that's what he was saying. He said you guys maybe should get to the point a little quicker, which, okay, Siri. He said you guys may need to get to the point a little quicker, but I think he really was just trying to preserve your feelings. So anyway, so what we decided to do is maybe get to the point a little faster.
or give a little blurb on, hey, fast forward minute 5.
Okay, what's a blurb?
It's a mixture between a blurb
and a burp
and a flurp.
I don't even know what that means. I don't want to go there.
You shouldn't.
I'm not.
You don't want to go into the danger zone, kid.
So shout out to Derek for the feedback. We want to hear from everybody. We realize that you guys have different ideas of some things you want to hear about, or maybe the way we can present it. So we want to hear those. Doesn't mean we're going to take it, but we do want to take it. We want to take that feedback,
and we want to implement it
if it makes sense.
That's right. And Derek gave us some very good feedback.
Yes.
And
so thanks, Derek.
And we're not podcast experts. We're just two ridiculously good-looking guys.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Good, because I'm selling it.
Some of us are smarter than the other one.
Cough over here. And so we want this to be as engaging and informative as possible. So if you guys have any feedback on topics, or if you just want Elmore to shut his mouth,
go
ahead and send that directly to Todd.
They were talking about you. They just don't want to hurt your feelings. That's why they included me. So I'm sure that's happened a lot before.
Why are you laughing when you say?
I don't know. I just think I see you. So I immediately start laughing because you're such a fun guy.
You know what?
Positrons, Chris.
Transition.
No, it was segue.
Segue into our. Are you copying me now? Our relationship,
right,
which is what we're going to be talking about today.
So remember, prepare relationship, evaluate with questions, settle anxieties, and system diagnostic or system design if you're sales. So yeah, we want to talk about relationship today. We talked about prepare last week. So prepare is mindset, appearance, goals, integrity, explore everything. And I think we really did a good job last week.
I do.
So this week, relationship. And relationship really starts, I think it starts at prepare anyway, because the main thing we like to talk about when we talk about relationship is recognizing or identifying disc profile. So
that's huge.
It's
huge.
It's an unimpeachable thing to learn. Do you see what I did there?
You know what? If I was in your house, maybe on Senate Drive, maybe
stretched it too far. But we want to learn. We want everybody to understand disc profile. And if you've done anything with us, not just us, but SET, if you've done anything with SET, then you know we talk about profile a lot. And I know, Chris, when you teach your class, when Chris teaches a sales class, he goes into profile and identifying profile of the client. When Terry teaches, same thing.
Manager class, you go in deeper.
Well, in manager class, we talk about knowing the profile of your people because we think they need to know. That self-awareness really helps them adapt to other people.
And it helps you manage them.
It does. And it helps you know, if we go a little further, we can know what motivates them and those kind of things. But specifically what we want to talk about is recognizing profile for the customers. And that starts, first of all, you got to know profile. And you got to know the different characteristics so you can look for those.
Why?
Well, because we want to identify profile. Some people say, are you saying why do we identify profile?
Right. Or why is it so important? I'll give you an example. Shout out to my boys up at Cardinal. But I was having a discussion, Cardinal. I was having a discussion with them, and some of the guys, as we went through, they were like, essentially, why does this matter? Right.
Mm-hmm. So what did you
Um,
say, Chris?
Shut up and listen.
You told them that? You're not supposed to
No,
say that.
no, I didn't. So my explanation was, there's a lot of people that have gone through being a service tech or a salesperson, and some may have been through training or not. And, there's people that you would call, like, they've got the gift of gab, or, they're a chameleon. They can get along with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And those people have just learned throughout their experiences in life on how to deal with different disc profiles.
Yep. And they may not realize they have.
Exactly.
Or sometimes you feel like you meet a customer and you're like, man, everything just clicked with that customer.
Uh-huh.
All the other customers are idiots or jerks, or they don't know anything. And it's because you hit a profile that you understand. Maybe it's like your own, so you know how to respond, because that's how you would want to be responded to. The reason we have to identify a profile mainly is those reasons there. But when we start to communicate, we know that people like to communicate in a certain way.
Derek is a great example.
Okay, Derek, we're not wearing this out, I promise.
No, I promise. And I'm going to challenge you, and I've got his email address. I'm going to give him, I'm going to disc profile him, and I'm going to call it right meow.
Okay. All right. Whoa, I see what's going to happen here. So just so we're clear,
okay,
Derek, and you know who you are,
and we've never met.
We're going to send you a link, and you're going to get a free profile from us. Now, if you've been to our training, you probably have one, but we're going to do another one on you. It'll be updated. And so Chris is going to get that. He's going to send you a copy of it, but he's going to call out what he thinks it is right now. Go.
High D, high C.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, see, that's something, and this is a great example of why this is another one of the skill sets in press play that transcends just in-home service, because you can read that in someone's email now. You can see how they communicate in email. And the bottom line is, profile is mainly about this. I got this from my good friend T-Bear.
Turbert.
Turbert. I seen it.
In Montgomery, Alabama.
I seen it. I seen Terry say this.
He said, a sassy old Southern grandma. Especially when you do the shimmy.
Are you going to pull out your Medea?
Don't know who that is.
Okay. That is a total lie that you don't know who Medea is. Anyway, so Terry said communication is primarily about how people give and receive information,
mm-hmm.
or profile is.
Mm-hmm.
And so what recognizing this profile will do is it'll tell you how people want to get the information and how they like to give information. And so the first of all, know about disc profile. And there's three things. We give out a chart in class, and it's in all of our books, that all of our series books, but demeanor, pace, and conversation are
mm-hmm.
the three things that we use to identify profile. And then there's a bunch of other traits and things that we got to do. So you can recognize demeanor, pace, and conversation as soon as someone opens the door.
Right.
But we also know there's some tendencies that certain profiles have in terms of things they do. And those things might be how they keep their yard, the kind of car they drive, how they keep up their car, what the whole general appearance of the outside of their house looks like. And so we go into that in teaching techs and salespeople. Now, don't judge a book by its cover and think you got it. That's not what we're saying.
Because I'll share with you what's on my microphone stand.
Oh, geez.
Speaking of judging a book by its cover.
This is a good book, man. Look.
Becoming a Supple Leopard.
So supple means you're not all tight and everything like that. You can move, you're flexible. And a leopard means that you can attack.
Oh, gosh.
So anyway, but you judge that book by its cover, and you do what Chris is doing right now, thinking it is ridiculous or funny.
Hot garbage.
No, look.
It's crispy still. You haven't opened it.
I have used it, but it's a good quality book.
It's not supple.
You know what? Here's the thing. I think if I drop this from about the ceiling height onto your face,
it would bounce off.
You might stop talking about it so much.
So anyway, I'm judging a book by its cover.
Okay, but that's not what we're talking about you doing. We don't want you to judge a book by its cover necessarily. Also, what I don't want you to hear from what I just said is judge how much they're going to spend by the car they have in the driveway.
No way, because
that's ridiculous. Yeah. If you've done 5 sales calls or service calls, that's not true. So what we are saying is get clues about profile.
Mm-hmm.
So start eliminating profiles as soon as you get there, only if you can. Now, there's only 4 primary profiles. So what I want to do is I'm going to the door, I'm going to start considering those things. And then is the customer at the door when you get there? Are they standing on the front porch welcoming you? Or is the door behind 7 or 8 chains and they just crack the door and look around? All these things help us identify profile. But the
It's a
one
lot of chains.
it's a lot of chains.
One might say it's off the chain,
No.
or one might be
One might
listening to
say
2 chains.
that person is probably a high S and they really like security and safety.
Why did your voice drop and you got your
Because
why
I'm
did
trying to get you back on track.
why did your voice get more supple?
Because I'm a supple leopard.
Whoa.
So anyway, we're doing that. But then you really can, obviously, if it's about how people give and receive information, as soon as they have to give you information, you'll start to identify profile.
Right. So let me give you some examples, right?
Give me some examples.
I'm going to drop some examples and I'll have you pick them up. Think about the last time, as you're listening to this or watching this, think about the last time you went to a client's house. And I'm sure most of you guys have been trained and have floor savers, and you've got like this little thing that you say up front. And when's the last time you went to the client's house and they opened the door like, oh, hey, what's up? You're the blank guy. Hey, follow me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're waiting to put your floor savers on and you got the spiel that you want to say. And they're 15 feet in front of you with their back to you.
And you're already worried about it because, oh, no, I'm not following the process.
Right. All right. Or the customer that you go to and they haven't had heat for 4 days, or they haven't had hot water, or they haven't had electricity in a certain part of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And you look in your notes and it's been a long time. And you're like, man, I'm about to go put out this fire. And they get to the door and they're like, what's up, bro? Can you believe LeBron, blah, blah, blah? And you're like, huh? And you spend 15 to 30 minutes talking about nothing that has to do with the actual call that you're on.
Nope.
Or the client, as soon as you get there, they start offering you everything. I'm so sorry you had to come out here. You know, I know it's towards the end of the day. I'm sure you probably have a family. Can I get you something to drink? Can I make you a sandwich? Or lastly, my favorite, look over here.
Totally not true.
The client, when you get there, they're like, well, thank you so much for coming out. This is my Elmore impression, by the way. You look like Simon Cowell right now. Thank you so much for coming out.
You know what Simon Cowell does when he looks like this? Hits the red X and gets rid of people. You fired.
You can't red X me.
I just did.
You get to the door and they're like, hey, I spent 5 minutes on YouTube. Kind of Nate certified now. I'm pretty sure it's the inducer fan motor. I don't have the right tools and I couldn't find one in the internet. I just need you to double check it for me. Or they get there and they're like, you know, you start diagnosing and they come up behind you, you know, they lurk and what are you doing? What does that do?
Yeah, my favorite are the ones that start telling you immediately everything. Yeah, the furnace stopped working last night at 9:37, and then I checked the thermostat to make sure that it was. No, I don't do that. You can keep saying it all you want.
I'm not even saying anything.
I know.
Actions.
That's the
speak
thing.
louder
You're
than
not
words.
saying anything. You're talking a lot, but you're not really saying anything. So anyway, the way they come to the door will give you a clue to personality. Now, for me, and in our process, which we'll talk about next time, and we've talked about asking great questions before, but in the next section, we're going to be talking about asking questions. So for me, what I'm going to do is in the relationship phase, which is right when we get to the door, they open the door and we do our introduction, how they interact with us will help clue us into profile. But where we're going to nail it is when we ask that first question in the evaluate with questions, which is, can you tell me what's going on? Because they have to then give you a story. And so all of the information, they have to decide what information to give you and how to give it to you. And that'll come out based on how they like to communicate. So you'll nail it there. But let's talk more about the intro.
The intro. So the introduction should be friendly. The introduction, you should absolutely unequivocally give as much information back to the homeowner as you know. You know, hey, Mrs. Jones, it says we're here to do a maintenance. Is that right? Mrs. Jones, it seems like you don't have any warm air is what the office told me.
Well, I like to do questions, and I like to make sure that I'm addressing that specific thing.
Right. And so you find those things out. You thank them. Because most of you guys are in markets where there's hundreds, if not thousands of competitors. Yeah. As that air quote.
That was a good air quote, by the way.
Thank you.
It was vigorous.
It was leopard-like, if you will.
No, it was vigorous.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't supple.
That was not supple. But some other things you need to do, if you have floor savers, announce them, right? Let me put these on before I come in. The high S's are going to tell you, don't worry about it.
Well,
The
hold
house
on.
is a mess,
Hold on.
right? And
Hold on.
then you
Hold on.
ask, what are you?
I'm holding you up. My wife says I interrupt you too much.
No, your wife just says you interrupt people too much.
No, she says you. And then I say, well, it's Chris. Oh, okay. That's what she says.
Wrong.
So anyway, I like to ask the questions. And now, so sometimes, here's what I know is that when we're talking about relationship things, when we're talking about how we say things, and we talk about, we inevitably get to, oh, you're turning me into a robot for a script. But sometimes a script helps you get the process down, because there is a process to it. It's it's based on a principle, but it's process. And so to go along with all you said, what I take it to is I want you to ask. There's 6 little pieces to it, and 5 of them are questions. And here's how it would go. So I'm going to give my name first.
Okay, let's role play it.
I will, but let's go through it. I'm going to give my name first, and I'm going to ask if you are Chris Loudermilk, because that's on my work order. And I'm asking that because what I want to prove is that first, I don't want to have anonymous service. That drives me nuts when people come in my house and they don't tell me their name.
I've heard you say that before.
I hate that. And so I'm going to give my name first so we don't have to worry about anonymous service. You're going to know who I am right away. I'm Chris Elmore from ABC Plumbing, whatever. And then I'm going to say, are you Chris Loudermilk?
And I'm yes.
And if you're listening to this, oh, well, I can't call him Chris. I got to call him Mr. Loudermilk. Whatever's on your thing, however you got to do it for your area, do that. Now, some people say, do you shake their hand? Should I offer shaking their hand? Whatever. Maybe a half offer, A
hoffer.
Yeah, something like it's a hoffer. So whatever. That's up to you. To me, it's material. I like it, but it doesn't make or break this whole thing. And nothing really makes or breaks it. This is just a preferred way. So I'm gonna give you my name, and I'm gonna ask your name, and I'm gonna get it right because that's what's on my work order. Or you're gonna correct me, and then I'm gonna repeat it, and you're gonna say yes, right?
Yes.
And so it would go like this: Hi, I'm Chris from ABC Plumbing. Are you Chris Loudermilk?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Should I call you Chris or Mr. Loudermilk?
Topher.
Okay, Topher.
Christopher.
Okay. So anyway, we got that out of the way. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to confirm the reason I'm there. So I understand, Chris, I'm here because your furnace is blowing cold air. And you would say, if that's what the problem was.
Yes, it is blowing cold air, but I'm going to need you to call me daddy.
Okay. So forgetting that last part. But so if the customer said the fan thingy on the outside isn't running, say, I understand the fan thingy on the outside is not running.
Okay.
Because I want them to hear back what they told my office.
Right. It seems like your condenser coil is having issues.
And especially what I don't want to do is I'm not going to interview the customer on the front porch. I'm asking some questions, but it's not going to be, hi, I'm Chris with ABC Plumbing. Are you Chris Loudermilk? Yes. Okay, Chris, well, what's going on? I'm not going to do that. I'm telling him why I'm there because I I understand I'm here to do the I understand I'm here to do the maintenance on your furnace.
Yes, you are.
That may be it. I understand I'm here for your annual plumbing maintenance and safety inspection. Yeah. And he's going to say, yeah. So whatever I'm there for, I'm going to say that there. So I'm Chris Elmore from ABC Plumbing. Are you Chris Loudermilk? He's going to say
Chris.
yes. Okay, Chris, I understand I'm here because your furnace is blowing cold air. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for calling us. We appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Just to make sure I don't block anybody in before I get started, is my truck parked okay?
Actually, yes, it is.
Okay, great. And I'd like to start inside at the thermostat. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. So again, another affirmative response. Now you mentioned calling out the floor savers.
Love it.
So what I'm going to do next is, okay, Chris, is it okay if I put on my floor savers? And you're going to say,
the house is a mess, man. Don't even worry about it.
You know what, Chris? I appreciate that, but we just do this out of respect for your home.
Easy. Now, this is a point of contention with me.
Okay.
I've trained guys. We've gone through this session, and I've been out in the field and still heard it. I do this because the company makes me.
Nope.
It's company policy.
Nope.
I do this to keep outside, and inside.
Mm-mm.
I walk across.
That's kind of gross. It kind of sounds like somebody talking about throwing up or something.
I walk across lawns. I want to make sure I don't bring anything inside.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Why? Why don't we say any of those things?
Because you're just making them think you got poo on your shoes.
Well, you're creating a negative image of something you might do in the house.
Right.
I don't want to get the thing dirty, or my feet are dirty. I don't want to get my dirty boots in your house or whatever. And I agree with that. The other thing that I definitely agree with is I don't do it because the boss makes me or it's company policy, because
There's nothing special about that.
well, there's nothing special, but also I'm only doing it because I have to.
Right.
And you as the consumer don't want to make me do something that I don't want to do.
True story.
So I put you in a position, especially if you're a high S. Oh my gosh, you're having a breakdown right now.
You want to hear my favorite response I ever heard?
I think I've heard it.
From a plumber, and he was bending down putting them on. A customer was a high S. She said, "Don't worry about putting those on." And as he was putting them on, I'm doing a skill evaluation. As he's putting them on, he says, "It's all right, Mrs. Jones." And he looks up and he says, "I do this to protect my shoes from your home."
Oh yeah, I've heard that one before.
And she kind of looked at him, and he got bright red. Finished putting them on. She looked at me, and I was trying my best not to break out laughing.
Well, and we know if you've been in people's, if you've done this for a week before you've gone in houses, you're like, how do people live like this? But hey, it happens.
Porterhouse.
Now, there's one other I have a little pet peeve about floor savers.
Okay.
I like you to call them floor savers. I'm not worried about the booties or whatever. You call them that if you want. But my pet peeve is this.
What's your pet peeve?
And I'm going to look at the camera instead of, I'm going to look at myself, then camera, then you, then you. But when you are wearing floor savers, do not wear them but that one time. Don't wear them in somebody else's house, because you never know what you're taking into someone else's house. And especially if the thing you have in your head is, I'm doing this to protect my shoes, nobody else wants that in their house. So my pet peeve is, and maybe you do it to save money or whatever, I get it, but for such a small investment, use new ones every time you go into somebody's house.
Absolutely.
Now, if you put them in your pocket to go in and out of the same house, but I would not wear them in this customer's house, then come and wear the same ones in your house, especially if they have pets.
I agree. Plumbers, if you're bringing in machines, put the floor savers around the wheels when you get to the door. That's easy peasy.
Snake hoses.
Yeah. Don't reuse them. And then don't reuse gloves.
No, that's bad too.
Oh, I had a guy reuse gloves.
So,
and he shook my hand. It was at my house.
Ooh.
Yeah, he put them on at the truck. I'm like, man, this guy's ready to work. And he comes up and he's like, hey, Mr. Loudermilk. And he shook my hand, and it was like,
no, that's gross.
It was disgusting.
So,
and I was like, oh, nice to meet you too.
So when we put on the floor savers as part of the intro, it's one of the things. So the 6 things are the names, starting with your name, confirm the reason you're there, thank the customer, check where your truck is parked, ask to come in. Again, that's a thing where you assume you're going in the house because you're there to do in-home service or sales, but ask to come in. And then also ask about the floor savers, because that highlights the floor savers, where today it's kind of a thing everybody does, right?
Yeah, but they still get mentioned on so many freaking
They
reviews.
do, and that tells us people love them and we want to highlight them, right? So of those 6 things, the first 3, the names, are you going to count with me?
No, you had 5 up, so I put an extra 1.
No, the 6 things. Okay,
That's
thank you.
fingers.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having my back.
I count good.
Or the pinky. So the names, the reason you're there, and the thank you, that shows respect to that person, because I'm respecting you enough to give you my name first and learn your name and use it. I'm respecting you enough to repeat why you said I was there, so I can make sure we're right. And then I'm saying thank you. That goes without saying. That's respect, right? So give respect.
RESPECT.
Yeah. I'm not going to draw that up there. The next 3 things, okay? So it's asking where your truck is parked. Can you come in? And wearing floor savers just out of respect for their home. All 3 of those show respect for the property. So respect for the person, respect for the property. Also, behind that is there's 5 questions we ask, because a thank you obviously is not a question. Or you might get a you're welcome. I don't know. But at least you're going to get 5 questions in there. I'm Chris. Are you Chris? I understand I'm here for your furnace blown cold air. Is that right?
Correct?
You know, so there's 2, and then was my truck parked okay? Is it okay if I come in? And is it okay if I wear my floor savers? You're going to get affirmative responses to all of those. You'll get about 5 or maybe 6 affirmative responses. Now, what I don't want anybody to hear is if you get them to say yes 5 times, they'll say yes when you ask them to buy. That's a bunch of hockey.
Whoa, that was
Yeah.
close.
No, I was never going to say that.
That was about to horse hockey.
But no, that's crazy. Don't hear that we said, if you get them to say yes 5 times, they'll say yes when you ask them to buy. It's not a trick. What we're trying to do there is set them at ease, show them respect, their property respect, and allow them to have affirmative responses towards us, because that makes us look prepared.
Because we are.
And it makes us a little more trustworthy if they can say yes to us or answer us in the affirmative. And so if you do those things, if you learn disc profile, that's in the prepare. If you learn the disc profile and you start observing as you go to the door, observe their interaction, the words they say. Remember, demeanor, pace, conversation, that's on the chart for disc profile that you get from us. And if you want that, we'll send it to you. Just email us. We'll give you our stuff at the end of it. But demeanor, pace, and conversation is what you're trying to recognize there. Then do your intro the way you're supposed to, and the responses they give you will help you.
Correct.
And that starts to form the relationship. Now, we talk about going from prepare to relationship. You're not done building a relationship here. This is just where it starts.
The question I get asked inevitably by High C is, how long should this take in the process? And the answer is as long as it needs to.
As long as it needs to. In general, what I say is the PRE, the P happens before you get there. The relationship is parking, walking up to the door, doing your introduction, and then you're going to evaluate with questions. If you're a service tech, you're probably 15 or 20 minutes into it right here, right after the E. So you're going to evaluate with questions. You're probably, I would say, at least 15 minutes or so in at this point. Or
unless you're with a high I, then it could be an hour.
I mean, then it could be longer. At least 15 minutes. It could be longer. If you're a high D, they may be pushing a little bit. That's okay. And then you get into the rest. Now, if you're on a sales call, the evaluation may last much longer, right? Because you're going to spend, if you're not spending most of your time talking to that customer, you're probably doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
So, but that's the R for press play. You have to press before you play.
Right. And let's make some distinction here.
Okay.
We're not going in and trying to make false friends.
No, we're not. That's the thing. And that's the thing about what I always say is, when you're dealing with people in the public, child psychology and the way kids act really comes out in people. And I'm talking about myself and you and employees. Yeah, definitely you. Employees, customers, and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. Try to fool a 3-year-old about candy or something they're really interested in. Try to fool them and see what happens.
What, you got candy?
See? But I'll remember, and I always remember this thing about my son. So my son he'll be 25 in May. When my son was like 2.5, 3 years old, first of all, he started walking at 9 months old, and he started talking at 10 months old. He's super smart. And so.
And when did he win the Nobel Prize?
Not yet. He's got a degree in physics. So if you're listening, Nobel.
Are you pimping your son out?
I am.
I love it.
Physics for hire. Have physics, we'll travel. So I remember when he was a kid, we did the trick or treat, or the little adorable costume. We do the trick or treat, and he gets the pumpkin full of candy, and he's not having it all. So I remember Laura. We dumped it out. No, you can't have it all, Chris. You can't have your candy and have it all. You didn't know that?
I just let my daughter gorge out.
Okay. So, not at
Looks
2.5.
like David Hasselhoff.
Not at 2.5, unless you want to be cleaning it up everywhere. So anyway, Laura dumps it out. She sorts it, and she gives him a few things. She puts it in the pumpkin, and she puts the pumpkin on top of the cabinet. And from his height, he can't see the top of the cabinet.
But he knows it's up there.
He knows it's up there right then. Like 3 months later. Daddy, can I have some of that candy on top of the cabinet? Well, he didn't say on top of the cabinet. He's pointing at it. And he remembered it was there. Customers are the same way.
Where's that pumpkin, Mr. Service Tech?
Well, they're remembering that kind of stuff. And remember, when you talk to customers, you make little contracts with them that you may not realize you're making. But customers have a pretty good, it's the same thing with a kid. You try to pull some BS on a kid. They got a pretty good BS detector, right? Customers are the same. I
would argue customers now more than ever have very sensitive BS meters.
Absolutely. And so when you are insincere, and you will be unless you practice this.
For sure.
And that's the thing we'll probably end most of these podcasts with is you got to practice this stuff if you want to seem natural in front of a customer.
And whether you do it with us or do it on your own,
You got to practice.
You got to do it. It's like a sport. It's like shooting. You know, my wife was in the Marine Corps, and I asked her how many rounds she threw down range, and she said, I don't know, depending on what weapon, 3,000 to 5,000 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because they want to waste ammunition. It's because when they get in a certain scenario, they want them to have that muscle memory and be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're not prepared with the homeowner, you're not going to have that muscle memory or the confidence, a lot of it, to be able to go through it.
So I did some field evaluations last week, and I'm not going to name the company or the person I rode with because I don't want to take the chance of embarrassing him. He's a cool guy. He probably wouldn't care, but I'm not going to do that.
Let's call him Elmore.
No, we're going to call him CC.
That's fair.
So anyway, I go on this call with CC.
Mm-hmm.
We get there, and usually I'll do a field skill evaluation, and I just say, look, just tell them I'm with you. I'm doing some training and consulting with the company. The customer usually goes, okay, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, I'm just part of it. It's no big deal. So he does that, does a great intro. We get in, he starts asking questions. He does great questions. Then we get to settle anxieties, which is where we do credibility, agenda, price.
Mm-hmm.
And he does great credibility. He says who he is, how long he's been there. And he talks about the company. And one of the things they like to do is say how long they've been with, why they chose, how long they've been there and why they like the company.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so he does all of it. And he goes, I've been with so-and-so company for a year now. And I chose this company because, and then he's like, I chose this company because I chose this company. I'm sorry. Customer goes, that's okay. I forget words sometimes too. Move on. And then he moves on. He does fine. But
did you interject?
No, I didn't.
You should have said in hindsight, I'm making note of this.
But here's the thing, what I started thinking of and what I'm going to call him from now on is I'm going to call him Bird Dog.
Yes.
Up. Because when we're out and you put your bird dog on point and you go, whoa, that dog will stand there forever.
Until I touch it. Until
you touch it on the back of the head and release it. And I thought,
did you release?
No, I thought I was going to have to do that. So,
that's
hey,
awesome.
I don't know if he'll be listening, but hey, Bird Dog, if you're listening, shout out to you, buddy.
Love it.
But see, the point, I like that it happened. I was telling a couple of my groups about that this week, and I like that it happened while I was there because the example you gave of the firing range is the same one I've given on this podcast and I give too. It's similar. And it's like that, that basketball player, 0.6 seconds left on the clock, you're down by 1 point, you just got fouled, you get a 1-and-1 at the foul line. When you go out there, if you're thinking about how to take the foul shot, you're probably going to miss.
Raw your toast.
And so what should have happened is you should have taken so many free throws in practice, you can make them with your eyes closed.
Have you ever watched, next time you watch a basketball game, pay attention to the NBA players specifically. Every single one of them, like the guys that get fouled a lot, like LeBron or,
any of them
that get fouled.
Sometimes I forget words too. Go ahead.
Wait, hold on. Touch the back of my head. Okay. They have a very specific routine. There's one guy that'll get the ball and he'll take it and he'll line it up where the seams are all facing him.
Oh yeah.
He'll spin it, ball check back, spin it down, ball check back, spin it down, ball check back, lines his feet up, does a shimmy.
Well, it's like you when you were a kicker.
In his hand, and then
when you were the kicker. I've asked you to do your walk-off before just to see if you still remember it. And you do.
Sexy.
I don't know about that. But anyway, that's the point. Any of this stuff, if you want to avoid sounding salesy and all this kind of stuff and avoid all the fears we've talked about before, which is, fear of offending, overwhelming, angering, fear of missing something, getting something wrong and all that. If you want to avoid all those fears that you have, practice. All right. So next time we'll continue with evaluate. We've already talked about questions before on this podcast, but you never can hear that too many times. So we're going to talk about some of those questions and what we do in that section. So if you would like to get in touch with me, 254-733-7109 or Elmore, ELMRE @serveextra.com. If you want to get a hold of Chris,
254-7 Chris Loudermilk, 254-723-7459 or Chris CHRIS @serveextra.com, SERVEXTRA. Our website is the same, serveextra.com. We do have some classes that are pretty much almost full right now, coming up at the end
There's
of
a few
January.
seats left in both. Yep.
But it's going to be the 20th through 22nd. That's going to be the tech and the sales series. And then the 23rd and 24th, running concurrently in Austin, is going to be the manager series.
With me, CSR with your wife.
And the CSR series with Brandy, Michelle Loudermilk.
You said her middle name. She's not going to like that.
With one L. It's Michelle with one L.
Is there an E on the end?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yes.
Because that would be Michelle.
Michelle.
So anyway, if you want to get in touch with us, do that. If you want that chart I was talking about with the disc profiles, just shoot us an email. We'll get it out to you. And we hope to see you in classes. Get that done before the holidays. Don't wait. Get it done now. Now.
Well, I've got one before you get into the very last.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to talk about, but go ahead.
I do not know what you're going to talk about. We have a money back guarantee on our class. A lot of you guys have money back guarantees or satisfaction guarantee. We have a money back guarantee on our class, which is if you come to class and you go back and don't produce better results, our CEO will literally write you a check back for your class investment. So we make
Can't beat it. Well, why wouldn't you do it?
That was weird.
Can't beat it, man.
Can't beat it.
Why wouldn't you do it?
Oh, see, you can't beat it. So who are you going to ask? Here we go.
Chris, what do we do at Service Excellence Training?
We turn learning into earning.
Bye, everybody. Merry Christmas. It's after Christmas when you're hearing this, but Merry Christmas anyway.
I hope you had a Merry Christmas.
I hope you had a Merry Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas. I hope you had one. I hope you have a Happy New Year.
Or had.
Or whatever. Bye, everybody.